Greetings. This is Dr. Meredith Butalis, and I want to be one of the first to welcome you to Heart Health Month. And in honor of Heart Health Month, I am going to share 4 tips that you can use in your own life right now to improve your own heart health. Now, this is not necessarily saying that you have an absence of cardiovascular disease or you have a presence of cardiovascular disease. It is a continuum. And some things are genetically predetermined, but either way, with or without any cardiovascular disease present in your own body, you can do things to improve your own heart health. The CDC came out with some statistics, and these were updated in 2022 in the fall. And if I ask you, what's the leading cause of death in the US? A lot of people answer COVID, which it's had a huge impact on the whole world. But that's actually not number one. Number one is actually heart disease. And it's been that way for a long time. The second stat, a little bit shocking. They said heart disease claims one person every 34 seconds. This is like if you went to college and they said, look to your left, look to your right, only one of you is graduating. Same situation. Look to your left, look to your right. One of you is going to be significantly impacted. Your quality of life will be impacted by your heart health. And what's amazing is most of the risk factors are lifestyle mediated. That means they are under your locus of control. So what do I mean by that? What are these 4 tips that you can use? The first one, when you just want to get started with heart health and you feel like, I don't know where to begin. You know, the doctor said this, the doctor said that, this other person said this, my neighbor said that. I'm overwhelmed, so I'm not going to take a first step. Start with movement snacks. I know the CDC, Centers for Disease Control. They say that you need a minimum of 150 minutes of activity in order to achieve baseline health for your heart. Is that true? Well, that's a whole lot of research to back this. So for right now, I'm going to go with yes. And you say 150 minutes, no way, not going to happen. I got this and that and the other thing going on in my life. And the reality is that it doesn't have to be at one time when you're getting started. You can start by snacking on movement. You can accumulate things like vacuuming, picking up the yard, playing with your kids. It doesn't have to be a treadmill. I know that's probably what we pick in our own minds, are like a treadmill. And in my mind, I call that the dreadmill, not the treadmill, because I don't enjoy it. Okay. So it can be something you enjoy or something you already have to do. How are you going to accumulate it? Think of it this way. 5 days a week, you need to accumulate 30 minutes. It's like water into a bucket. You just accumulate it. So 5 days a week, I need 30 minutes. Well, if I was active for 10 minutes in the morning, 10 minutes at lunch, and 10 minutes in the evening, I would have my 30 minutes. Remember, it doesn't have to involve a gym if you don't want it to, but it certainly could. My second tip for you is practice inclusive nutrition. What do I mean by that? Well, a lot of times somebody tells you that if you want better health or better heart health, you're going to have to change your diet. And the second you hear the word diet, you're like, oh no, I'm not signing up for that. Somebody's going to take my carbs away. We've all been there. It doesn't have to be like that. So the number 1 studied nutrition plan for heart health is the Mediterranean diet. And I don't want to imply that you need to go on a diet. That's not true. But there are certain elements from that diet that would benefit your heart if you included them in your nutrition plan. What do I mean? So some elements that are key in that plan are consumption of fish, or if you will not eat fish and you're not allergic to it, fish oil. Fish oil comes in a supplement form. So unless you're allergic to it, it's a good idea to include that. If you are allergic to it, there are other sources of omega-3 fatty acid, which is what they're after, such as flaxseed, for example. The other elements of that diet are that we include whole grains. We don't kick out carbs. The interesting thing about that is there's been quite a bit of research, and that research shows that when you attempt to kick the carbs out of your diet, your cholesterol goes up. And if your cholesterol goes up, that's not necessarily going to contribute to your heart health. There's different kinds of cholesterol though, so that could be a topic for another day. What I'm getting at right now is include some whole grains in your diet. Include things that have fiber in them. Include things like sweet potatoes or oatmeal or whole wheat pasta a little bit every day, because that'll also keep your digestive system regular as an added side effect, a good side effect. And if you're somebody who says, well, I just need to have that Twinkie or brownie or glass of alcohol, whatever that is, okay, the Mediterranean diet does not include that, but we're human, okay? Enjoy a treat once in a while, but a treat does not mean your main food group every single day. Third tip, know your numbers. We say that hypertension, high blood pressure, is a silent killer. And the reason why is because so many people don't even know that they have it. And that's your body's way of saying to you, there's something really wrong on the inside here. Your heart and your blood vessels, they're not keeping up with what your body needs. And if you're wondering what numbers might be normal, there's a top number and a bottom number. Top number is called a systolic, bottom number is called a diastolic. And if that top number is more than 120, or the bottom number is more than 80, there's a good chance that you might have an elevated risk for cardiovascular disease. So what can you do about it? Well, three major things. The movement snacks, the inclusion of elements of the Mediterranean diet, like fish oils or omega-3s and some fiber, and of course, fruits and vegetables go along with that too. And also a few other tips. There's a recommendation that you keep your sodium, that's from the salt shaker and also on your food labels, under 1,500 milligrams per day. But here's a catch. This happens to so many people. They say, okay, I'm going to do that. And I'm going to change to sea salt only. What you might be missing is that other kinds of salt have iodine added. So if you're consuming all your salt from uniodized sources, you actually might throw your thyroid off. So we make sure that we include some iodine in our diet from sources like salt. So I'm not saying get rid of your salt altogether unless a doctor has advised you to do so. Another tip with that, alcohol. You say, no, I'm not giving up my alcohol. I get it. Okay. So the recommendation for heart health is only one serving a day. You might say, well, what's a serving? Is that like a liter? Not quite. It's not a pint. It's 12 ounces of beer or 5 ounces of wine. So it's not quite a pint. And of course, you've probably heard this one before, but if you are a smoker, if there's anything you can do to minimize it or quit, that would certainly benefit your heart health. And the last tip I'm going to share with you is stress management. You might say, okay, meditation, I get it. Yoga, I get it. I should do those things. Yes, you probably should, but if you like them. But I'm getting at the core of your stress management, because those are things that say, oh, I'm already stressed. What am I going to do to remedy it, to bring it back to baseline? So how am I supposed to regulate it without letting it go out of bounds? Well, everybody can handle a different amount of stress in different ways because stress is somewhat perceptive. But a few things that most people can benefit from. First, check your planner. If you are a chronic overcommitter, that's going to be a continued source of stress. And taking time to learn about time blocking, where you actually have to go into your planner and make little blocks and then not double book the blocks, is going to really, really help you. Is it very difficult to learn to do that if you're an overcommitter? It's not hard to learn, but it is hard to build that new habit for sure, because you have to learn to say no, and you have to learn to carve out what a priority is. Second topic, perseveration. If you're somebody that perseverates on something, you need to build some skills to let it go, especially if it was out of your locus of control. And we've all been there. Like you're driving down the street, somebody cuts you off, and now you're angry as a hornet. How long are you going to stay angry for? Because there's nothing you can do about it now. Third one, social media. I'm not saying social media is good or bad. There's so many pros and cons to it, right? But when you're contributing to something and getting in really heated arguments about something that you maybe just made a passing comment on, do you really need to continue that argument with this random stranger that you've never met and get all heated and emotional and dramatic about something that you just are making a passing comment on and it was misinterpreted? I don't know. You have to decide how important that is in your own life and how much stress you want to assign to that. And the fourth one in there is lack of a bedtime routine. We teach our kids bedtime routines. And as adults, sometimes we forget what a bedtime routine is. We don't do it. So one of the wonderful tips I learned when I was actually at work, I actually learned this from a coworker. He grabbed my phone, he set my bedtime in it. So now every night at a certain time, my phone shows up with a darker screen and it says bedtime routine. And I know, okay, you actually need to start winding down. Sounds a little silly, but it's actually really, really helpful. So I hope that these tips about movement snacking, about inclusive nutrition, about knowing your numbers, and about stress management really help you improve your heart health and give you some tangible things that you can do right now at home. If they do, that's great. I'd love to know. Make a comment. And please, if this is helpful to you, share it with other people who it might help too. Because I don't think most of us woke up saying, hey, I want more cardiovascular disease in my life. And realizing that these statistics are pretty impactful to a lot of people, I think that we can all do our part to spread heart health a little bit more if it's something that you believe in. Thank you. And I look forward to hearing your comments and going from there. Have a great day, everybody.